Hello YouTube, welcome back to the channel. And first of all, before I even get into the main topic of the video, how the hell is there a new Metric album out and nobody informed me? Now I understand you may not know that I listen to Metric, and that doesn't matter. That's not the point. The point is somebody should have told me, because I had no idea. It just made me laugh. I actually came across this on Spotify yesterday, and I started listening to it, the new Metric album, Formentera here. I didn't even realize they were out with a new one. It had been years since the last one, The Art of Doubt. But that's a little. There's your brief music and CanCon content to cover my bases on that regard. It just made me laugh that a lot of these bands that I listen to are releasing these albums, and honestly, I'm not paying close attention, so it tells you how far out of the loop I've been for the last little while. Just a quick diversion before I get to the main topic at hand. So here we go. I want to start off with this here. This is from Sports Collectors Daily. I'll include a link in the description for you. And this is related to the 52 Topps Mantle from the famous find from Mr. Mint that they believe could get over $10 million. That's the one that's going to be selling at Heritage Auctions. It is an SGC 9.5, and it will lead into the main topic of the example here. I do appreciate, though, that it does have the little provenance on it, the 1985 Rosen find, in quotation marks, finest known example. So we'll kind of see what happens as far as this is concerned. It's very likely that it will go for a record price. It'll be interesting to see what that ends up being at. So first thing, if you want to throw it in the comments, I'd be curious to see what you think the ending price would be on this auction. I'll talk about it more, I think, on the live stream once we get a chance to discuss a little bit more. Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern time. But the reality of it is that when it comes to a vintage card of this of this quality, at the end of the day, it's going to challenge some of those record prices. But then at the same time, what's going to be interesting as well is obviously this one here isn't an SGC holder. And that's going to lead into this whole market efficiency conversation. And I'll give you a little background into why I decided to tackle this topic today. A lot of what comes next related to it is related to the idea of market inefficiency. And one of the things that has been a consistent theme on the channel, is particular in the live streams and a lot of the videos that I've made related to the third-party graders, is that you've got the third-party grading holy war that has been going on for some time now. And it's fun, to be honest. It makes for good content. It makes for good discussion. I'm not blind to the fact that if I make a video pertaining to a third-party grader, it will get more views on average than a lot of the other topics related to, collecting or whatever else. It's just a fact that people like to opine on it. Good, bad, or indifferent. Whether they like it, they don't like it, they agree with it, they disagree with it, they want to react to it. And that's been a consistent theme throughout the channel the last couple of years. But one of the things that's kind of fun is, as I said here a moment ago, a card like this, regardless of the holder, as long as it's not a completely irreputable third-party grader, you're probably going to do fine as far as price is concerned. If this was in a CSG holder and it was in top-tier quality, you're probably still going to sell for a pretty strong price. SGC has plenty of credibility, so I don't think that's going to be an issue here. It's not going to hurt them. And we know that there are a couple of, I think there's 2 or 3 PSA 10s, and those ones haven't gone on the market in some time, so this is certainly the highest quote-unquote quality example. And the comparison is going to be made to the PSA 9 that Rob G purchased for $5.2 million. Now, I believe at the time that I'm recording this, this one already with the buyer's premium is already at over 5. So like I said, when we get to the live stream on Friday, I'll take a look at where the latest is, and we'll see where it stands. But one of the topics that comes up a lot, as I said, is the whole holy war aspect of it, and people talking about the discrepancy between something like an SGC versus, a current market leader like a PSA. And that's the example we'll use. In one of the most recent videos, Dakota, Sports Card Anonymous, and then Sports Card Dad also came out with a video. Now, I'm going to focus mainly on the Sports Card Dad one. I'll leave a link to it in the description for you if you want to check it out. But the subject of it is pretty straightforward. It's a regurgitation of a topic that has come up 5 billion times. And I laugh because in one point Dustin in the video says, not enough people talk about this. No, Dustin, plenty of people talk about this. In fact, I wish people would stop talking about it forever. Because it's pointless, it's meaningless, it's dumb, I don't care. I care enough to make a video about it and take advantage of it. That part I care about. But the actual topic is beaten. That horse is dead. That horse has been beaten to death and been converted into glue at this point. And the reason why is going to be the topic of this video. Because I'm less concerned with the points he made on it, because they're the same points that 5 million other people have already made in comment sections throughout the land. You want to go to Blowout, go to a comment section on a third-party grading video. You'll find the exact same take that he makes with almost no variation. But nonetheless, the point is, the topic comes up all the time because some people are fixated. They absolutely are hell-bent on repeatedly stating the same thing over and over again, which, by the way, to be clear, is not wrong, but I'm going to explain kind of in this video from my perspective why it's a pointless discussion. And the reason is that they'll say that, hey, there's no reason why SGC should be selling for a lot of this stuff much, much less than PSA. And the reasons will be varied. It's like, well, it doesn't make any sense, or, SGC is a better grader, they're more consistent, blah, blah, blah. I like the holders better. Peter is, awesome. He's my best friend. I don't care what your reason is. Whatever your reason is, that's great. But the point is, over and over again, with that comment and that general thread, is it doesn't make any sense for SGC to be less than PSA. So let me help you out here. It does not make sense. And you know what else? It doesn't matter, and it doesn't have to. Because the market has made a decision. Now, what you're arguing about and what you're lamenting and wailing out into the universe is that, the market has made the wrong decision. And that's fine. But here's the thing. It doesn't matter whether you think the market has made the wrong decision. The market has made a decision. That doesn't mean it'll never reverse. That doesn't mean it cannot reverse. But that means already there's a lot of weight behind that decision that makes it easier to maintain the status quo than it is to flip it on its ear. It actually makes more sense to maintain it. And also, if we're actually using our brains here and we're actually rubbing two brain cells together, truthfully, if you're a collector or an investor or somewhere in between, whatever your situation is, this is not a bad situation for you. And that's the reason why the whole, discussion, the argument always, what doesn't make sense to me is complaining about it and worrying about it and even being concerned about it. The reason being is that if you're a collector, investor, whatever the case may be for you, it's actually better this way. Why? It's like, oh, well, because you're like, I don't care. If it had been SGC at the top and PSA underneath it, and people were complaining about PSA maybe should be higher and closer to SGC, that would work for me too. CSG at the top, I don't care. BGS, not likely. But the point is, I don't care which one of them is at the top. The pricing discrepancy is what I like. And I've actually talked about this repeatedly on the live stream, and I've made the exact same point over and over again, in that this type of market inefficiency is actually beneficial to the person that understands how to use it and exploit it to their advantage. And I'm going to talk about that here a little bit more. So let's quickly talk about what market inefficiency is, because it comes up in a lot of different categories. I'm going to focus on the third-party grading it, but towards the tail end, I'll give a couple of other examples, and you could probably figure them out on your own, to be honest with you. But let's just talk through this a little bit here. So market inefficiency refers to the degree at which market prices reflect all available relevant information. Okay? If markets are efficient, then all information is already incorporated into prices. So there's no way to beat the market because there are no undervalued or overvalued securities available. Stop. That right there is exactly what we're talking about. The sports card market is inefficient. There are discrepancies. There are opportunities to beat the market because some stuff is overvalued and some stuff is undervalued. So this whole argument about, well, SGC, this SGC card is better than this PSA card. And I'm sitting like, I'm not going to argue with you. That may be 100% true. It doesn't matter. It makes no difference whatsoever. As a matter of fact, if that is true, then that's great. That sounds to me like the SGC card is a buy. It sounds to me like it's a buying opportunity. And I'll give you an example of that here in a second. But the point is that to me speaks of opportunity. Market inefficiencies are something that I, as someone who likes to try to get my best bang for my buck, I want market inefficiencies. I would love nothing more than for the discrepancy to be even worse. I would love SGC to be 1/3 of PSA prices. Because then, number one, the SGC fanboys would complain and cry. That would be funny. But at the same time, it would also mean that there would be some great opportunities to buy quality cards at a great price. That's why I say, like, from a purchasing perspective, the market inefficiency is fantastic. Because let's say you, in fact, decide you want to flip the card. Well, then you can buy the SGC one that is a quality card, crack it out, throw it to PSA, and boom, get the extra money in it. There's an arbitrage opportunity there. Or you can just leave it in the holder and enjoy the fact that it's a nice quality card if you're a collector. So this is a win-win either way. So to be honest, I don't want to flip it. I have no interest in it. At this point, because the market has decided that this is the pecking order at the moment, I'm fine with it. You really want to flip it badly enough? Fine. But in that case, I'm going to take advantage of it the other way around. Then maybe the PSA ones become the buy. So it's one of those things where you got to kind of look at what the situation is and adapt accordingly. And complaining about it doesn't actually change anything, other than obviously to further an agenda because you want to make your SGC cards be worth more. That's about it. Other than that, there's no value to it. As a collector, it makes no difference. You should just be looking for the best card for the best bang for your buck and the best card for the money. And it doesn't matter which holder it is in, as long as the holder is legitimate, as long as the card is legitimate, you should be happy with it. So there's an opportunity there for you. Now, one more thing I'm going to pull from an article, and all these things I'm going to include in the description for you if you want to check them out on your own and read a little bit more. But I want to read this little section here. This is from a Forbes article from some years ago now about the market being wrong in defense of inefficiency. Basically, the same general topic I'm talking about. A lot of it covers a little bit about George Soros and then a little bit of Warren Buffett, quoting a couple of them. But I want to take this piece. The author here says, if you're committed to putting the time into becoming a great investor, controlling your emotions and developing a viewpoint that differs from conventional thinking, you can do much better than average. Really important here. Whenever I read those comments or I see those videos or I see that, it's like, well, this makes no sense. This makes no sense. I don't care if it makes sense. Take advantage of it. The fact that it doesn't make sense is great. The fact that it doesn't make sense is an opportunity. Conventional thinking is, well, this should be fair. This should be more even. This should make more sense. Or SGC should be better. Great. I don't care. It might make more sense. It's better this way. If it's wrong and you're getting the better product for the cheaper price, why are you complaining? That's the part that I don't get, because I'm sitting there like, you're working against your own interests as a collector or your own interests as an investor or whatever the case may be for you by wanting efficiency in a market. Inefficient markets are where opportunities are created. The more inefficient, the more ridiculous it is, the more out of whack it is, the better the opportunity. I want more out of whack, not less. I want more chaos, not less. That's just, again, from a logical perspective, even from a collecting perspective, like, no, I want to be able to buy the better card cheaper. I'm a consumer. I want the better quality product for the lower price. That's kind of how you have to operate. But anyway, to each their own. So let me give you a legitimate example here. I pulled up the fancy old market movers. You haven't seen too many charts from me on this channel, and don't get too used to it. I picked it up for the month. I tried it. They've improved a lot of features on it, by the way. A little mini review. I liked some of the features they've done with it. It's still a little too expensive for me, although they did introduce some new pricing. So maybe I'll think about it again in the future. But for now, I'm going to use it for today. The point is, I'm going to compare two things. So this is a 2018 Bowman Best Baseball refractor of Juan Soto. I'm using this example because I can actually give a little bit of a testimony to some of the information on the screen. So I'm comparing the PSA 10 to the SGC 10. So between the two of them. Again, going back to this narrative from earlier, oh man, the SGC, the cards may be higher quality, blah, blah, blah. Great, that's fine. The point is, I'm comparing the two prices. The one in the blue is the PSA 10, and the one in the purple is the SGC 10. So you'll notice the SGC 10 one is trending downward, and you'll notice the PSA one is actually all the way up here. So the last sale of a PSA 10 was about $236. The one before that, a little bit while before, was about $250. Let's put it somewhere in the $220, $230, $240 range, whatever. Okay? The last SGC 10 sale was $112. Now, I can give a little bit of credence to this because that $112 sale was the card that I bought recently. So I bought that on July the 10th. I can certify it because I bought it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you something about this so I can actually show you the detailed results on this. So as I said, I can actually speak to it directly. So this was purchased. It was $129.99 selling price. It was a buy it now best offer. And I offered $112 and it was accepted. So it was $130, which is already comfortably less than the last couple of PSA 10s have gone for, and I offered even less. In fact, I think I offered 100, and I think I offered 100, and the seller countered me 112 or something thereabouts, and that's how we ended up at 112. So I still knocked off another $17, $18 off that price. Well, Carlos, why was like? And by the way, the SGC it looks like a nice clean card. I'll be able to say more when I get it in hand. But the point is, it was a good, solid, clean looking card. I wanted to have it back in the collection. I've had the refractor before. I bought and sold a couple of PSA 10s over time, so I wanted to have another one back in the collection. This is easily the cheapest version of that I've bought outside of a raw one that I bought a long time ago. So, knowing this, why did I offer even less, even though the price was really good? Great question. Because I am a consumer and I want to buy a nice card for the lowest possible price. If I could have offered $1, I would have offered $1. And if they would have taken $1, I would have bought it for $1. And I don't care what happens to the comps. And that's kind of been the point. Like, I'm getting a little animated with it, but I'm kind of having a little bit of fun with it as well. It's a little tongue-in-cheek. The point is, though, is that as a consumer, my job, as I said a few minutes ago, is to buy the best possible product at the lowest possible price. It is not my job to protect comps. It is not my job to fix comps. It is not my job to fix this discrepancy. I would have been just as happy buying it all the way down here and then having that discrepancy between the blue and the purple be even more ridiculous. I don't care. As the buyer of the card, I want it cheap. I would have offered him half as much if I could have gotten away with it. But that's what happens. And if you, down the road, want to buy the same card and you look at my comp at 112 and you say, well, I wonder if I can offer 80, please do. I hope you get it. I hope you get it for 50. I hope you get it for 40. I want that card to sink like a stone. Not because I'm concerned about the price of the card. I don't care one way or the other. The point is, If that card goes up, and you know what? I want the next PSA 10 to sell for $2,000, and I want the next SGC to sell for $10. I don't care about the discrepancy between those two things, because as a consumer, well, if you're going to do that, that makes, again, it makes no sense. You're right. But it's to my benefit as a consumer. Then I get the equivalent quality card or better for a much lower price. Again, from a collecting perspective, that's advantageous. And if the discrepancy is really that crazy, well, then you can always crack it out and put it in the other holder and take advantage of that way as well. So, there's different ways you can play this. But the point is that as a consumer, I'm not interested in fixing this, this problem that you believe seems to exist. It doesn't exist as far as I'm concerned. And I hope it gets worse. And nothing would make me happier if it did. But from the perspective of market inefficiency, no, we like market inefficiency. I'm using the royal we here. We like market inefficiency because it provides these opportunities. I'd argue that SGC 10 more than likely is just as good as any of those PSA 10s that sold directly above it, but I was able to get it much cheaper than those. And to me, that's a win. That's great. And that's great for my collection. And I get to have the card that I wanted. Fantastic. But that's, like I said, it's taking more of a long-term view on this. Fixing the people, when they make these videos, they're looking to do one of two things when they make these videos. One, they're looking to elicit an emotional reaction from folks who are like, yeah, this is wrong. We need to fix this. And get a couple extra clicks of it. And it works, by the way. 100% works. But the other element of it is that they're also trying to, quote unquote, propose fixing a problem that is not a problem. Market inefficiencies are always going to exist unless we reach a level at which, the market really does reach an actual efficiency. And if it did, actually, it would remove a lot of the opportunity out of it. The other piece of it is also, sticking within the same vein, if I just remove the PSA 10, forget about that for a second, you'll notice it tracked downward. The last one that sold, if we just talk about comps, I bought it for 112. The last one sold for 178. I bought it for comfortably less than the last one. The last one was in May. And then the one in July, 112. What the heck? Soto had been having some struggles, but at the same time, it dropped. While as the PSA 10 was actually hovering right around the same, holding at the same level. Again, I can do the little reversal. Same idea here. It had certainly gone down, but at its lowest, look, you were able to get it for $100 a PSA 10. So there you go. For a brief moment in time, you were actually able to buy the SGC maybe a little bit more. And that was kind of the point of one of the videos I was making, is that you're going to get some flips here and there, and you're going to have those outliers where you're going to see stuff flip. You're going to see stuff move up and down. You're going to see different pricings depending on the vintage versus, closer to modern, ultra modern. You're going to see gaps and discrepancies and flipping and one-offs. And there's a lot of that. And it's just one of those things where fixating on the individual data points. I've never understood where people get so excited about worrying about that individual piece. Compare it to what's there. Compare it to what's around, and compare it to what the recent sales are for it, and similar cards, and then kind of figure out your pricing from there. Establish it. And at the end of the day, as a consumer, if you can offer less, then offer less and try to get it for cheaper if you can. So this all said, let's talk about this market inefficiency thing one more time, just as pertains to something else. Let's get away from the third-party grading just for a moment here to finish off this video. Platforms are a great opportunity for there to be market inefficiencies. And we've talked about that a little bit on the channel as well. And one of the things that you have as pertains to that is where you look at markets where maybe something hasn't been established fully. A great example of this was when PWCC got off eBay initially and they first started doing their auctions. I was actually able to buy some great cards, and as were others, in the first couple of auctions they did right after that switch, because not everybody had converted over. Obviously, they've got less eyeballs on there, and some stuff does not sell well on PWCC. So if you're in the market for that stuff, buying it in that market makes a lot more sense. It's the same card. It's the same, grade. It's the same everything. But because there were less eyeballs on it, you were actually able to get it for a cheaper price. Now, at a certain point, if that continued forever, eventually people would stop listing those cards in that platform, and they would go back to eBay or vice versa. But the point is that because there was that inefficiency there was an opportunity to get some bargains out of it. So platforms can do that too. Sometimes, a great example, simplest example that I can give you, is that sometimes if you go scrolling through eBay, you're going to find some items that are actually from COMC as a consignor. Well, quick pro tip. A lot of that times when you have something like that, the same card is actually active on COMC at the same time. So if you're logged into the account and you have some COMC credit, you're actually able to get it at a discount versus what it is on eBay. So you can actually take advantage of that. Same card, technically same platform because it's being consigned from COMC, and COMC actually has physical possession. But you can literally flip over to the COMC website, find the buy it now for the same card, and actually get it cheaper than it is on eBay. Now with eBay, they're going to ship it directly to you. It's going to be one card. You can take advantage of that. The other one, you can consolidate it and make it one package. And there's a variety of different options to it. But that's an arbitrage opportunity, a really simple one. But it's one where you've got two different prices for the same item, the exact same SKU. There's no difference between one and the other. It's just which platform you bought it on. That was the differentiator. That's why I say sports cards are not an efficient market. Sports cards are not a rational market. It's never been rational. None of this is rational. Some people select their third-party grader based on nothing more. Going back to the third-party grading thing, just one more time quickly to finish it up, is they select it based on the aesthetics of the holder alone. That was one of the discussion points that we had a lot on the live stream when HGA first started rising to prominence, if any of you remember that. The HGA Tyler Hitt was making the rounds, doing the podcasts and everything, and for a little while there were some folks that got really excited about HGA and all that good stuff because, custom labels, why don't the other ones do these custom labels? Why aren't the owners of these other companies coming around doing the podcasts and stuff? Well, how did that turn out? HGA, I won't say they're dead, but they're struggling. The struggle is real with HGA right now. And they never were able to establish that they were really able to do the things they said they were going to do. It was one misstep after another, after another, after another. But people held on with the promise of nothing more than fancy holders with custom labels. That was enough to get people on board, that little. And that was at a time when, again, PSA was having its struggles. PSA was having the backlog, the whole thing. They still have the backlog and it's finalizing, but it's still on. And people complain about PSA until they're blue in the face. Fine, I understand. But you have SGC. If you want, you've got SGC as an alternative. You've got Beckett to a lesser degree as an alternative. You've got CSG as an alternative. Personally, I think the CSG slab is the best one. I like it the best. But the resale value on it is terrible. But if I want to buy a card for personal collection, fantastic. Love it. I was able to take full advantage of that, and I do. But an SGC, I would never hesitate to buy an SGC card. But you know what? It's the holder I like the least. Beckett right behind it. I don't like the bulkiness of the Beckett holder, and I've never liked quite the design of the SGC holder. The inserts are fine. The Tux thing is fine. I wouldn't hesitate to buy an SGC card. I literally explained to you a little earlier that I bought one, and I'm not going to crack it out and switch it out to the other holder. It'll be fine in that holder. That's fine. But the point is, it's not my favorite. So it's not going to be the holder that's going to draw me to it. It's going to be the decision based on the card, the price, and the condition, all those three things in tandem, figuring out if it makes sense, and then making a decision from there. That's the approach that I like to take. So I'm going to be very agnostic as far as the third-party grader of choice. I submit cards to PSA because it's easier for me. We've got a good bulk submitter here that I'm friends with, that I can communicate with. We've talked about this in the live stream. But I'm not closing my mind to the other third-party graders. I don't like the SGC holder. That doesn't mean I wouldn't buy an SGC card. That doesn't mean I wouldn't keep it in the SGC holder because I'm not going to crack it out just for the sake of cracking it out. I've got cards in Beckett slabs. I don't like the Beckett slab, but that doesn't mean I'm just going to crack it out for the sake of cracking it out. If it makes sense, I will, but otherwise I won't. And same thing with CSG. I like the CSG holder. If you allowed me to have the CSG holder, all things being equal, that would probably be my personal preference. But it's one of those things where all of them have their utility depending on what it is you need. And the discrepancy in pricing between these different parts is not a problem, it's a feature. So that's kind of the whole market inefficiency thing is how it plays out. There's obviously more, but I wanted to stick to a couple different categories that pertain to sports cards. I hope you kind of understand. I kind of went all over the place a little bit on that one, so I apologize for that. But my point that I was trying to get across is that I do get a little bit frustrated when I see the same comments over and over again. And I disagree with the idea that no one talks about it. Yes, they do, but it gets really boring. Because saying that it doesn't make sense, quote unquote, or saying that, you can't figure it out, is literally saying water is wet over and over again and acting like it's a profound statement. It's not profound. It's the most basic of basic things. Does it make sense? No, it does not. Is the market rational? It isn't. It isn't. Is the market efficient? Certainly not. Because if it was, then you wouldn't be having this conversation and we wouldn't be having this discussion. But from the perspective of the individual, as a collector, investor, whatever category you position yourself in or somewhere in between, this efficiency actually can be to your advantage if you're able and willing to take advantage of it. From my perspective, it's not a problem. It's a feature. I prefer it this way. And if anything, I'd love to have an even bigger discrepancy because I'd love to really take advantage of that too. That's kind of the approach that I take to it. Anyway, be happy to get your thoughts. Obviously, I touched on a lot of different things there. I touched on the marketplace inefficiency. I touched on the third-party grader inefficiency, how you could take advantage of it. Didn't do too many charts because that's not my deal. But nonetheless, I did want to show you a real example that I could give you so I could compare apples to apples on the same card. And you can kind of figure out for yourself what you want to do with that. But the point is, don't fixate and spend all your time worrying about, quote unquote, this problem. Instead, realize that if it's going to be there and it's going to be a problem, well, then take advantage of it and make it something that works in your favor rather than opposed. Love to get any comments you might have. Thanks very much for checking it out. Like if you like the video, subscribe to the channel. More videos coming up on the channel, as well as the live stream on Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, where we'll probably touch on some of this. Obviously, we're in National Week now, so hopefully those of you who are off at the National have a good time. Safe travels, and then we'll catch you all in the next one. Thanks very much.